The housing market is flashing red. Adjustable rate mortgages, the kind that helped blow up the economy in 2008, are now being used at the highest rate in over 2 years. Why? Well, mortgage rates just spiked again, up 20 basis points in a week. New single-family homes for sale in the U.S. surging to 500,000 in February, reaching the highest since November of 2007. But even with more homes for sale, buyers are pulling back. Spring is supposed to be real estate's boom season, but Anthony Pompliano, you say that we have a crisis on our hands. We need to treat it like one. What do you think the path forward is?
There's 4 data points that really show this. The median asking home price is up 6% to $424,000. That's $50,000 increase since the start of the year. The median sale price in America is up 3% to $383,000. But I think even more importantly, the typical home buyer monthly mortgage payment is up 5% year over year to $2,800 per month. And so if you think about those numbers, basically what you have is you have homes becoming more expensive. You have debt becoming more expensive. We're not building enough homes. And so naturally you have this squeeze that's occurring. But people also forget at that same time you have real wages falling. And so people basically can't figure out how to buy a home or keep up with what is ultimately the real inflation that they're experiencing. And so the reason why I say it's a national emergency is because the federal government really has to step in here. And if you go and you look at the housing problem, we can't build houses in America, not because of the federal government. It's because we're being held hostage by local city councils that are basically, parading around or masquerading around as politicians. But at the end of the day, what do they know about housing zoning? What do they know about housing rules?
What do you mean when you say you want the government to get into it?
I think that the federal government
made a mess of it.
I think that the federal government should step in and say that we are going to create either some sort of sandbox, some sort of safe zone, or we are going to actually put some sort of guidance out for these city councils. Because what ends up happening is if you want home prices to stop going up so fast, build more housing. But what you can't do is you can't have people who they are not experienced and frankly, they have a lot of times very big conflicts, right? If you go to the local city council, who sits on the city council? Usually people who are real estate developers or are sitting there, they own real estate in the jurisdiction. There's tons of conflicts of interest. And so if you want the housing rules to actually change,
just crooks.
If you want those housing rules to change, what you have to do is you have to create some sort of guidance. And so the local rules that are in place right now are not taking into account the fact that there is a national emergency in terms of housing prices. And so let's have some sort of framework that we can go and actually implement and allow people to build houses in America so that these house prices stop going up and making it unaffordable.
It's not an emergency to keep home prices propped up, though. I mean, if you want to make housing affordable, it means that prices need to come down. And nobody will admit that the inflated value of the home that you bought, wherever it may be, because literally every home on a coast is, despite the wildly out of control insurance costs, is overvalued. And so you can't tell the American people, well, when you go to sell your house, you might not be able to get a premium for it. Sorry. But there's no emergency there. It's
just that high prices and mortgage rates, and you put those all together, and we've got a disaster. I think President Trump wants to work on it, but I also want to talk about on the mortgage side how we got here, because over the course of the last 4 years under Joe Biden, the interest rate when he was inaugurated on the 30-year fix was 2.77%. It rose to 6.77% by July 18th of 24. It went back down in September of 24 to 6.08, but we've been bouncing around in these high ranges, making that prohibitive too for quite some time. And that was inflation and the Fed.
But it was 7% last week, according to Mortgage Rate Daily.
Oh, no, I'm not denying it's not high.
Because people were dumping U.S. Treasuries. Now, the yields have eased on the 10-year Treasury, thank God. But again, if you create a Treasury crisis and a U.S. debt crisis, that impacts home buyers.
So we've got supply problem, we've got interest rate problem, we've got a big mess. And Donald Trump has made home building and housing a priority through one of his executive orders. But you're right, Anthony, it is a problem at the local level, and that is quite a mess to weed through. But we're going to follow it.